The 80 Years' War, waged during the 16th and 17th centuries between the Dutch rebels and their lord the King of Spain, gave rise to legends, myths, statues, songs and expressions. Yet, most of its history is forgotten, leaving many unaware of the war's impact on life today. Before discussing 10 lasting effects of the 80 Years' War, here are a few more tangible remains. Across the Netherlands, Belgium and Germany, you'll find monuments to people and events from the 80 Years' War. There are statues of the Princes of Orange, Willem, Maurits and Frederik Hendrik, Count and Stadtholder Willem Lodewijk of Nassau, statesmen Johan van Oldenbarneveld and Hugo de Groot, engineers Adriaan Antoniszoon and Simon Stevin, and commanders Johan van der Korenput and Piet Hein, to name a few. There are also many memorials commemorating battles and sieges, such as those at Nieuwpoort, Heiligerlee, Leiden and Haarlem, and for smaller events such as the Hooiplukker from Lochem and the soldiers in Hulst. There are the stained glass windows in churches like in Delft, Brielle and Dordrecht. Local museums commonly display items and paintings related to this era. A few have dedicated exhibits, such as in the Stedelijk Museum in Alkmaar, Historisch Museum Den Briel in Brielle, Stedelijk Museum in Coevorden, Stadsmuseum in Grave, Stadsmuseum in Groenlo, Museum Slag bij Heiligerlee in Heiligerlee, Hof van Nederland in Dordrecht, Museum Slanshuis in Hulst, Museum Het Bolwerk in IJsendijke, de Lakenhal in Leiden en Loevestein Castle at Poederoyen. There are memorial events, such as the 1st of April Festival in Brielle and the 3rd of October Festival in Leiden, and reenactment events like the Battle of Grolle, the Battle of Stevensweert, the Battle of Bourtange, though nothing happened here during the 80 Years' War, and many, many, many smaller events. I am Yvette, and if you want to learn everything about the 80 Years' War, be sure to check out Defragged History's deep dive series about the conflict, telling you how it started, how it ended, and everything in between. 10. House of Orange-Nassau, Oranje legioen. You may have seen massive throngs of orange-clad fans at international sporting events. You may not be aware, but orange has been the national color of the Netherlands for hundreds of years, and the OG orange support dates back to the 80 Years' War. In 1544, the future leader of the rebellion against the King of Spain, Count Willem of Nassau, was crowned the Prince of Orange in France. During the 80 Years' War, orange in every form became a symbol of rebellion against the King of Spain. Some claim that the reason the orange carrots are so popular today instead of the white, purple and red variety is because these were the most commonly grown in the Netherlands in the 16th and 17th centuries because, you guessed it, the Prince of Orange. That's a myth. They were probably popular because the orange ones are sweeter. Though there were times during the anti-House of Orange-Nassau sentiments that the orange carrot was banned from the market. During the 80 Years' War, the United Provinces became a republic, which lasted in various forms until Napoleon Bonaparte turned the Netherlands into a kingdom. When he lost at Waterloo, the Orange-Nassau seized the crown in 1815 and haven't let go since. The orange craze has gone through phases, often because of wars. The Orange Legion, the Netherlands sports fans, started around 1965, with the cheering audience wearing orange woolen hats during skating events. But the Orange Explosion happened in 1988, after the Dutch soccer team's Euro Cup victory. 9. National Anthem, het Wilhemus. The rebel song Wilhemus van Nassau became the Dutch national anthem in 1932 and is regarded by the Guinness Book of Records the oldest national anthem in the world. Just the first of the 15 verses is sung, but occasionally the sixth is added. It was written in the early days of the 80 Years' War. The melody was based on a popular Roman Catholic French song called Autre chanson de la ville de Chartres assiégée par le prince de Condé. But the current version is the slightly altered version of composer Adriaan Valerius. Its author is unknown, though it is widely believed to be Philips van Marnix van Sint-Aldegonde. The story recounts Willem of Orange's role as a key leader in the Dutch revolt against the Spanish Empire. To avoid accusations of treason, the song's opening verse proclaims the prince's unwavering loyalty to the King of Spain, which makes singing it today a little awkward for a Dutch person. Also, the part about how he is of Duitse or German blood can be weird. It's probably because back then the Dutch called themselves Diets or Duits before changing it to Nederlander at the end of the 16th century. 8. Borders. The Netherlands' unusual shape mostly, though not entirely, formed during this war. The 17 provinces of the Low Countries, now roughly Netherlands, Belgium and Luxembourg, split into north and south during the war. Both sides, loyal and rebel, captured, lost and recaptured territory until the end of the war. The borders were determined in the 1648 Treaty of Münster. The most dramatic win for the current Netherlands was probably Zeeuws-Vlaanderen, just a chunk of Flanders added to the province of Zeeland, now called Zeelandic Flanders. It's not connected to the Netherlands directly, and you can only reach it through a tunnel under the Scheldt River, a bike and passenger ferry, or by driving through Belgium. Speaking of Belgium, 7. Antwerp Blockade. When the revolt began, Antwerp, located in present-day Belgium, was the wealthiest and most important city of the Low Countries. It was connected to the North Sea via the Scheldt River and trade flourished. But when Antwerp surrendered to the Spaniards during the 80 Years' War in 1585, the rebel cities upriver blocked the town's access to the North Sea, crippling its economy. The blockade lasted until 1795. The accessibility of Antwerp's harbors to large ships relies on the Dutch dredging the Scheldt. Despite reluctant agreements to do so, Antwerp is only the second largest harbor in Europe. The port of Rotterdam holds the top spot, and the Netherlands is determined to keep it there. 6. Flags around the world. The flag of the House of Orange-Nassau, called the Prinsenvlag, shows up in many places around the world. Though not all flags were created during the 80 Years' War, the Prince's flag's origins trace back entirely to Prince Willem I of Orange, the rebel leader at the start of the conflict. Around 1577, the Prince's flag, with horizontal orange, white and blue bands, flew on ships of the Watergeuzen, or sea beggars, rebel privateers. The orange-white-blue flag formed the basis of the South African flag of 1928 and is also reflected in the flags of New York, Albany, the Bronx, Nassau County, and Jersey City. Incidentally, the Netherlands flag went from orange, white and blue to red, white and blue in 1663, when the Statenvlag, or the States flag, was introduced. It had been used during the stadholderless period as an anti-House of Orange-Nassau flag, but it became official during the Anglo-Dutch Wars and remained so, because the color orange was hard to spot at sea, and the Dutch Navy and trading company ships had trouble recognizing each other. 5. States General in charge. When the Dutch rejected the rule of the Lord of the Netherlands, King Philippe II of Spain in 1581, no one could be found to replace him. No king or queen wanted to rule a people rebelling against a king. Other governing bodies stepped in, and eventually one of them took over. The most important body was the Raad van State, the Council of State. However, this changed after the Treaty of Nonsuch of 1585, in which Queen Elizabeth I demanded that, in exchange for granting money and soldiers in support of the Dutch rebellion against the King of Spain, English members were added to the council. Because the Queen wanted to use these English council members to transform the Dutch government and economy into the English system, the Republic's de facto Prime Minister, Johan van Oldenbarneveld, sidelined the council and relied on the Staten-Generaal, the States General, to govern. This government structure remains to this day. Though the Dutch did add a king a few centuries later, he had to rule alongside the States General. Today, the States General is made up of elected members of the First and Second Chambers. The Council of State, chaired by the King, remains the country's highest advisory committee. It mainly checks if laws and rulings are constitutional. 4. Religion. After the Reformation, Protestantism took root in the northern Low Countries. Yet, during the early 1600s, two factions of the Protestant faith clashed within the Republic. The final outcome was a national synod in Dordrecht that established the doctrine of Calvinism, which remains to this day. The meeting resulted in the de facto banishment of the Methodists, who ended up leaving the country, mostly to the colonies in the Americas. The synod also commissioned a Dutch Bible translation, the Statenbijbel, whose phrases are now common in Dutch. In goede aarde vallen, to fall in good earth, to go over well. A doorn in het oog, a thorn in the eye. Irritating, and bedekken met de mantel der liefde, to cover up with a cloak of love, a cover-up. It remained the most read version until the 1950s, when new translations gained ground. 3. Colonies. Dutch trade was big business. Specifically, Dutch merchants made huge profits by buying East Indian spices in Portugal, repackaging them and reselling them. The taxed income funded the 80 Years' War. When the King of Spain, who was also King of Portugal, closed the Portuguese harbors for Dutch ships, hoping to tank the rebel economy, the Dutch merchants got inventive. They ventured east in their own ships to make spice deals with the locals themselves. The high number of rivaling shipping companies resulted in lower profit margins, which in turn lowered war chest contributions. Attorney General Johan van Oldenbarneveld decided to unite all the companies into one. And so, in 1602, de Generale Verenigde Geoctrooieerde Compagnie, aka de Verenigde Oost-Indische Compagnie, aka the Dutch United East India Company, aka the VOC, was founded. It took a while for the wealth to start flowing, but it flowed. The Dutch West India Company was founded 2 decades later. These two trading companies established and ruled many colonies around the world. There was New Netherland, and its capital, New Amsterdam, turned into New York City after the English takeover in 1664. There was New Holland in Brazil, until the Portuguese recaptured it in 1654. Indonesia gained its independence in 1949. Suriname in 1975. But in the Caribbean, the islands Aruba, Bonaire, Curaçao, Saba, Sint Maarten and Sint Eustatius are still part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. 2. Military innovation. During the 80 Years' War, the rebel states had no standing army. The army consisted of hired soldiers from the Netherlands, Germany, England, Scotland, France, and other countries. This practice was very expensive, and the troops' numbers remained small compared to the professional army of the Spanish Empire. Commander-in-Chief Count Maurits of Nassau had to get creative. He and his cousins overhauled the army in every way imaginable. They mostly used or upgraded tried and tested Greek and Roman military methods and tactics. Among the many changes were standardized equipment, improved army camp building, and drilling. The military drills of today are the ones introduced, or should we say reintroduced, by the Nassau cousins. One of Maurits's cousins even went to King Gustav Adolphus of Sweden to teach him all the new methods, so when he entered the 30 Years' War, he was able to use and further develop the tactics. 1. Plakkaat van Verlatinghe. On July 26, 1581, the rebel states issued the Plakkaat van Verlatinghe, the Act of Abjuration. By the authority of the people of the rebel Netherlands vested in them, they solemnly kicked their lord King Felipe of Spain to the curb. They no longer recognized his authority and would look for another ruler. The act started off by saying, "All mankind know that a prince is appointed by God to cherish his subjects as a shepherd to guard his sheep. When, therefore, the prince does not fulfill his duty as protector, when he oppresses his subjects, destroys their ancient liberties, and treats them as slaves, he is to be considered not a prince, but a tyrant. As such, the estates of the land may lawfully and reasonably depose him and elect another in his stead." This may sound familiar. 200 years later, the American Declaration of Independence started off the same way when the colonists ditched King George. In fact, the rebels' reasoning has been used by many countries worldwide to declare independence from their rulers. The abjuration split the country in two definitively: the independent republic in the north, the Netherlands, and the loyal provinces in the south, Belgium and Luxembourg. This concludes the list of 10 lasting effects of the 80 Years' War. Do you have any other lasting effects of the 80 Years' War? Let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll make another video. Be sure to check out Defragged History's deep dive series on the 80 Years' War and the series about New Amsterdam coming soon to YouTube. And subscribe for more.